Hi everyone, it's Kelly here. Welcome to my channel if this is your first time. Welcome back if you've been before. Lovely to have you either way. On this channel we talk books, and today I have been teasing this gigantic haul, and here it now is. I have not yet counted up how many books there are in total in this haul, but it's a lot. So buckle in. Get a hot beverage if you pause the video, go and make yourself a cup of tea, then come and sit back down, because there's a lot of books to get through. Subsequently, I am going to try to keep my descriptions as brief as possible of the book so that this doesn't end up being a hugely long video as well. So let's dive straight in, starting as we often do with the new books and then moving into the second-hand portion, because the new book portion of this video is this many. It's not that many. The rest of the haul, the second-hand portion of the haul, is the bit that is a little bit out of control. So let's jump right in. The first book I'm going to show you is one I'm quite excited about because I read the first book in this series, I'm going to say last year, I'm pretty sure. And the book is called The Ladies' Road Guide to Utter Ruin by Alison Goodman. I read the first book in this series, which was called The Benevolent Society of Ill-Mannered Ladies, and I loved it. I thought it was great. It was a really interesting little sort of mystery series, and you've followed these two sisters who in their time would have been referred to as spinsters. So they're sort of in their, I'm going to say maybe 30s or late 20s, and they are unmarried. They remain unmarried, but they are well-to-do, from a well-to-do family, so they have money at their disposal. Oh, sorry, my bad. 42. She's 42 years old. So she's called Lady Augusta Colebrook, or Gus, and her twin sister is called Julia. They're unmarried ladies of a certain age. Hardly worth a second glance, but the Colebrook twins are far from useless old maids. They are secretly protecting women and children ignored by society and the law. So this is a book two. I won't go into the plot any further than that, because if you haven't read the first one, there's some potentially spoilery information in the plot, but in the summary on the back of the book. But I'm very excited to have this one now in my collection, ready to read when the mood strikes, which it could be soon, because I'm quite excited about this book. The next book I'm also quite excited about is A Little Trickerie by Rosanna Pike. This is a book that was longlisted for the Women's Prize this year. It did not make it to the shortlist, and a lot of people were aghast at that situation, because this was a book that a lot of people reading the long list were very excited about and liked a lot. So I'm very excited to have it in my collection now. Let's have a look at what it's about. Born a vagabond, Tib Ingleby has never had a roof of her own, but her mother has taught her that if you're not too bound by the big man's rules, there are many ways a woman can find shelter in this world. Now her ma is dead in a trick gone wrong, and young Tib is orphaned and alone. As she wends her way across the fields and forests of medieval England, Tib will discover there are people who will care for her, as well as those who mean her harm. And there are a great many others who are prepared to believe just about anything. And so, when the opportunity presents itself to escape the shackles society has placed on them, Tib and her new friends conjure an audacious plan, her greatest trickery yet, but before they know it, their hoax takes on a life of its own, drawing crowds and vengeful enemies to their door. So I'm very excited about this one, and hopefully we'll get to it soon, while people are still talking about it. But even if not, at some point I'm going to enjoy reading it, I'm sure. Another book that I picked up new this month was Heartburn by Nora Ephron. This one's been sitting on my my wish list for some time, and I heard it talked about again. I can't remember who was speaking about it, but I saw it mentioned somewhere again, and I went to add it to my wish list and was like, oh, it's already on my wish list. So obviously I've heard about this before. the price was right. I just decided to pick it up. It says, 7 months into her pregnancy, Rachel, a cookery writer, discovers that her husband is in love with another woman. The fact that the other woman has a neck as long as an arm and a nose as long as a thumb is no consolation. Heartburn is a roller coaster of love, betrayal, revenge, and how to make the perfect souffle. This is, I think, a sort of comical look at this kind of situation, but I've heard it's really, really good, so I'm excited to have that one. The next one is a poetry collection, and I had read a couple of the poems of this poet and decided to pre-order the collection, and I believe it came in the month of May, and that is Good Grief by Brianna Pastor. So I think I might have seen her poetry on Instagram or something like that. And yeah, I just really thought it was very insightful. And so I decided to pick up the collection. So at some point I will get to this collection. But yeah, I would encourage you to have a look at her poems, because her publishes small snippets of her poetry online, so you can definitely find more of it and see if it's for you, but she does have that collection if it seems up your alley. Right, moving on now to some non-fiction that I picked up new. This is a book I have actually mentioned on this channel before. I borrowed it from the library. I didn't get to read it at the time, but this is Decorating a Room of One's Own by Susan Harlan. And this is Conversations on Interior Design with Miss Havisham, Jane Eyre, Victor Frankenstein, Elizabeth Bennet, Ishmael, and other literary notables. So what she does is she pretends that she's having a conversation with it's like it's in a magazine, like a little interview that you would have in like a home magazine, where they interview the person whose home they're photographing, and they talk about their style and things like that, but they're literary characters. And the entire premise of this book is just amusing to me, and so yeah, I'm excited to now have my own copy to be able to flick through and have a look at. And the last of my brand new books that I picked up in the month of May is this one, which is Half-Assed Human by Leena Norms, How to Live Better Without Burning Out. Leena Norms is a YouTuber. I'll link her channel down below if you've not come across her. I'd be very surprised if you're coming across my channel and not hers. Very strange. But she published this book at the end of last year. It was a little bit difficult to get in Australia at the time, so I didn't get it when it first came out, but I happened upon it in my local bookshop, and I was like, well, obviously I've got to get that now. So I've got it, and I will be able to read it now, along with all of the other people in the Gumption Club. Hello, other Gumptioners. Yeah, excited to now have this one in my collection and be able to get to it. But basically this is a book about just doing the thing, and like half-arsing it. You don't have to do things perfectly in order to get started on something, or to, just have a go, which is hard for those of us who are perfectionists and want to do things efficiently and correctly the first time. Not always possible, so excited to have that one in my collection and to do some thinking and learning. Okay, keeping on with the non-fiction theme, let's move into the second part of this video, which is the book haul that have come from secondhand places that sell secondhand books. So I obviously went to a lot of secondhand book selling locations in the month of May. Part of that is because I did go on a trip, so I did visit several secondhand bookshops on that trip. So often I will film a holiday haul when that happens, but I didn't do that this time around because I was taking a break from my usual content creation. So unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, it means that all of this is making it into my monthly haul video. So let's get started. We're going to start with the non-fiction. The first one I picked up is Where Song Began by Tim Lowe, Australia's Birds and How They Changed the World. At one point I bought a copy of this for my mum and she really liked it. When I found this copy, I was like, absolutely, I'm going to get this for myself. But essentially this is talking about the birds that are native to Australia, particularly our songbirds, parrots, all of those kinds of things. Even ones that are around the world can be traced back to having originated here in Australia. So this is basically a tale of Australia's birds, and it says, a rich and revealing portrait of the continent itself, from the deep past to the human present. And just as the birds are unusual, so too are the relationships we have formed with them, including strong, perhaps perverse affection for two of the world's most dangerous. Interesting. So that is Where Song Began. The next one that I picked up is a book I've read another book by this author that I loved, but I wasn't as interested in the topic of this one, but I've decided to pick up a copy of it and at some point to read it because it keeps getting recommended as being an excellent book. So, and having read the other book, I can see why that might be the case because I thought the writing was excellent in that book too. So the book is Stasiland by Anna Funder. I read Wifedom by this author last year or the year before, and it was a 5-star read for me. This is a little bit of a different topic because Wifedom was all about George Orwell's wife and sort of how she was kind of in the background just kind of making everything happen behind the scenes, even though he was sort of the one that was the literary genius, and how basically her presence is what made so much of that possible. So this one though is Stasiland is about, does it have a byline? No, it does not. So it's on the back it says, truth can be stranger and more heartbreaking and fantastical than fiction. In this now classic work, Funder tells extraordinary stories from the most perfected surveillance state of all time, the former East Germany. She meets Miriam, condemned as an enemy of the state at 16, and Frau Paul, for whom the Berlin Wall went through my heart. That's a quote. She drinks with the legendary Mick Jagger of the East, once declared by the authorities to no longer exist, and she meets ex-Stasi, men who spied on their families and friends, still loyal to the deposed regime as they await the next revolution. Stasiland is a brilliant, timeless portrait of a Kafkaesque world, as gripping as any thriller in a world of total surveillance. Its celebration of human conscience and courage is as potent as ever. So it sounds really... I mean, it's not something that I necessarily would have picked up as something that I was super interested in reading, but just based on the strength of the recommendations and my knowledge of how good a writer Anna Funder is, I've decided to at least have it and be ready to read it at an opportune time. Another book that I don't know that I necessarily sort of was going out of my way to read, but again, one that comes very highly recommended is The Anthropocene, reviewed by John Green, Essays on a Human-Centered Planet. So John Green, obviously, the internet's own John Green. I never read his young adult novels because I'm a little bit too old for them, which kind of gives you an indication of my age. But, he also is well known to me from his internet presence and his, videos that he does with and about his brother Hank as well. So yeah, I found this and was like, if the price was right, I decided to pick it up. But basically, on the back it says, the Anthropocene is the current geologic age in which humans have profoundly reshaped the planet and its biodiversity. In these remarkable essays, adapted and expanded from his groundbreaking podcast, best-selling author John Green reviews different facets of the human-centered planet on a 5-star scale, from sunsets and Canada geese to the Lascaux cave paintings and penguins of Madagascar. Funny, complex and rich with detail, the reviews chart the contradictions of contemporary humanity. As a species, we are both far too powerful and not nearly powerful enough, a paradox that came into sharp focus as we faced a global pandemic that both separated us and bound us together. Obviously. It sounds great. And the last of the non-fiction books that I picked up secondhand is this one, Orwell's Roses by Rebecca Solnit. This is a book that has been on my wish list for some time, so finding a secondhand copy of it was very exciting for me. So it says on the back, Roses, Pleasure and Politics, a fresh take on Orwell as an avid gardener whose political writing was grounded in his passion for the natural world. And that is all it says. So yeah, but I've read quotes of Rebecca Solnit's writing and was excited by her take on what I had read, just sort of snippets of. So yeah, that was sort of what put her on my radar. And then the topic of this book was just super interesting to me, that it's a book about George Orwell, but it's about him gardening. Sounds interesting. Okay, let me do a little shuffle and then I will continue on with the video, because I got some stuff that I gotta move around. Bear with me for a moment. I'm back. That would have been like literally a second for you, but it took me about a minute to just reshuffle all the books so that I can get to the other ones from the haul. Okay, let's start off this fiction portion of this secondhand portion of the video by telling you about a very exciting find. So if you watched my last video, you would have seen that I recently read the first book in the Cadfael series, and I did tease in that video that in this video I will be showing you why it's going to be super easy for me to continue on with the series, because I really, really enjoyed it. Gave it for the first book 4 stars. And that is because I found every single book in the whole series that I needed to complete my collection. So I had already hauled a couple of random books from this series. I literally bought most of these from the exact same shop, but they just sort of dribs and drabs were kind of coming in. But then obviously somebody decided to donate their entire series. So I was able to find all of the other Cadfael books that I didn't already have, and now I have every single one. So that was super exciting, and boy was I glad that I had put a note on my phone in the notes app to say which ones I had already and which ones I still needed. So when just things just align, you go into the shop on the right day, you've done the prep work, you're ready to roll. So very, very exciting for me. So now I am able to continue on with the series. I have every single one. I'm going to look forward to organizing them on my shelf because, yay, exciting times. I'm very, very happy. If you haven't heard of this series before, Brother Cadfael is a medieval monk. I'll just hold up one rather than the entire stack. This is book 2 in the series, called One Corpse Too Many. It's essentially a medieval cozy murder mystery kind of series. I guess along the, that sort of well-traveled path, isn't it, of the kind of cozy mystery. But this is, he's a monk, but he's a monk with a past. And so, you know, he didn't just go into being a monk when he was a teenager. He has lived a life and then he's kind of settled into being a monk. But he's also very clever, and he solves mysteries. So excited to have the rest of that series ready to go. I'm not going to talk to you about the individual books because that would be silly, especially given that none of these are book one. So, very excited to have that stack. Let me just pop it on top of, whoops, the ones that I have already shown you. Okay, let's continue on. The next section of this haul is going to be classics, and I've picked up quite a few classics in the month of May. The first one is this copy of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, but also the sequel, But Gentlemen Marry Brunettes, both by Anita Luce. I already had a copy of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, but I just loved that this was a like Uno reverse kind of situation. And I picked this one up at a book shop that I have been going to, which is Anne's secondhand bookshop in Nora on the south coast of New South Wales. So giving them a little shout out. This is a bookshop I discovered like last year, and I've been popping in ever since to pick books up. So they have a very extensive classics section, but also I pick up all sorts of exciting things, and there's more books coming up later in this haul that came from there as well. So super excited to have that one now in my collection, because it's just such a cool edition of these books. I'm yet to read them, I must say, but I will at some point get to them. The first one is a lot bigger than the second one, because this side is book one, and that side is book two. Cool. Very cool. Okay, the next book that I picked up is a book that I'm not embarrassed to say I haven't read, but it is definitely a big blind spot in my reading of classic books, and that is The Hobbit by JRR Tolkien. Obviously, we all know what The Hobbit is about, so I'm not going to give... Actually, I generally don't give a synopsis of classics, because we mostly know about these. If it's a bit more of an obscure one, then I definitely will, but The Hobbit is not one of those. I mainly picked this up. I'm pretty sure my husband owns a copy of The Hobbit, but I just really liked this edition. It's a hardback with the sort of original picture on the dust jacket, and it's got the beautiful map inside as well. So yeah, super excited to have this one now in the collection as well. Speaking of George Orwell, as we were before, I picked up a copy of Burmese Days, which I already own in a different edition, but I just liked the cover of this one, and I've got quite a few of these Penguin Modern Classics. So yeah, was able to find this one as well, secondhand. This one's probably the most obscure, maybe, of the secondhand books that I've picked up, but it's Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. This copy has an introduction by Zadie Smith, and it is... who is the publisher of this one? Virago Modern Classics. So I don't have a synopsis for it, but I do have information about the author. I have heard of this before, but I've never read anything from Zora Neale Hurston before. But she was born in 1891, died in 1960, grew up in Florida, in Eatonville, which was the first incorporated black town in America. She moved to New York, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, she is now recognized as one of the most influential African-American writers of the 20th century. Nearly every black woman writer of significance, including Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, and Alice Walker, acknowledges Zora Neale Hurston as her literary foremother. So yeah, this just seemed like an important author to try. So I'm looking forward to getting to that one at some point. I found this very cool copy of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, and it's cool for a number of reasons. One, because it has a very funky cover, but two, it is written, because if you've ever seen editions of Mice and Men before, you will know that it's quite a small book, so you might be thinking, gee, that's quite thick. And the reason for that is that it's written in a dyslexia-friendly font, and it's quite, I don't know if you can see that from where you are, but it's quite large print, and the font is dyslexia-friendly. Yeah, so I just thought that was super interesting, and I'm looking forward to giving this one a reread, because this is a classic I have already read before. Another book that I already own in a different edition, but I just really loved this edition because it's this old-fashioned-y kind of binding, and it is The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. This edition was put out by the Zodiac Press in 1980, although their first edition of this was in 1954. This edition first published in 1954, but that is obviously not when Anne Bronte's book was initially printed. Here we go. It was first published in 1848, but yeah, in the what did I say? Virago. Zodiac Press. Don't know where I got Virago from. The Zodiac Press edition. The first one was in 1954, but this one's from 1980. So yeah, I just really loved the edition of it, and just looking at the print and the spacing, it just sort of seemed like a good edition to read from. So at some point I will read that one, but very excited. Now I've put this one in with the classics. I don't know that it necessarily is, but some would probably consider it. So I've put it in here because it's kind of a bit of a, very particular sort of thing. I have a collection of Christmas writings, and this was one that I had heard was quite good, but I didn't have a copy of, and now I do. It's called Christmas Days, 12 Stories and 12 Feasts for 12 Days by Jeanette Winterson. So I might pick that one up at Christmas time this year. But yeah, essentially it's all sorts of different writings by Jeanette Winterson, I believe. I think she wrote all of the text that's in here. I don't think she's just the she's the author. She's not like an editor. So yeah, excited to have that one in the old collection now too. Okay, bear with me for one moment while I shuffle things around. Okay, we are back. Right, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more to go. So let's do this a little bit more rapid fire. We've got, this is sort of the more modern fiction that's here, although some of it may be historical in nature. This is The Book of Longings by Sue Monk Kidd. I really like Sue Monk Kidd's writing. I read The Secret Life of Bees a million years ago when it was not brand new, but a while back, and I loved it. I've read The Mermaid Chair, I've read The Invention of Wings. I don't think I've read this one yet, The Book of Longings. I have read Travelling with Pomegranates that she wrote with her daughter, and The Dance of the Dissident Daughter as well. So yeah, I've read quite a lot of her writing, but this is one I don't think I have read. This one is historical fiction because it's set in the time of Jesus. But yeah, so basically it says, Anna is born in Galilee at a time when women are seen as possessions, only leaving their fathers' homes to marry. Anna longs to control her destiny. Taught to read despite her mother's misgivings, she wants to be a writer and to find her own voice. A voice that will speak for the silenced women around her. Betrothed to an elderly widower, Anna almost despairs, but an encounter with a charismatic young carpenter in Nazareth, awakens new longings in her, and a different future opens up. Yet, this is not a simple love story. Anna's journey will bring both joy and tragedy, but it will also be enriched by female friendships she makes along the way. That sounds amazing. So yeah, I'm excited to have that one. Excuse me while I just sort out my cup of tea. Cup of tea sorted. I don't want to wait till the end because it'll be too cold by then. That's perfect. Okay, the next one I picked up is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I've heard really good things about Naomi Novik. Have I ever read any of her books before? It's possible. I don't know. I'm not sure that I have. This one was first published in 2015. But yeah, basically this one says, a dark enchantment blights the land. Agnieszka loves her village set deep in a peaceful valley, but the nearby enchanted forest casts a shadow over her home. Many have been lost to the wood, and none return unchanged. The villagers depend on an ageless wizard, the dragon, to protect them from the forest's dark magic. However, his help comes at a terrible price. A young village woman must serve him for 10 years, leaving all she values behind. Agnieszka fears her dearest friend Kasia will be picked at the next choosing, for she is everything Agnieszka is not. Beautiful, graceful and brave, yet when the dragon comes, it is not Kasia he takes. Uprooted. Sounds good. This one I've recently heard really good things about, but it passed me by at the time that it came out. It's called Lie With Me by Philippe Besson. This was first published in... translated from the French by Molly Ringwald. Cool. Originally published in France in 2017, first published in the US and UK in 2019. Yeah, that's cool. Let me tell you about it. Just outside a hotel in Bordeaux, Philippe, a famous writer, chances upon a young man who bears a striking resemblance to his first love. Wait, is this a memoir? Is this non-fiction? I mean, it sounds like it's non-fiction. I'll have to look into that. What follows is a look back to Philippe's teenage years to a winter morning in 1984, a small French high school, and a carefully timed encounter between two 17-year-olds. It's the start of a secret, intensely passionate, world-altering love affair between Philippe and his classmate Thomas. Dazzlingly rendered by Molly Ringwald, the acclaimed actor and writer, in her first ever translation, Besson's exquisitely moving coming-of-age story captures the tenderness of first love and the heartbreaking passage of time. I mean, that sounds amazing. This definitely does sound like it is non-fiction, so should have been in with my non-fiction part. But anyway, we move on. The next book that I picked up is one that I got from Anne's in Nora as well. This is Creation Lake by Rachel Kushner. This is one that was also nominated for the Women's Prize. I think it was last year. Was it the Women's Prize? I think it was the Women's Prize. So yeah, basically it says, Sadie Smith, a 34-year-old American undercover agent of ruthless tactics and bold opinions, is sent by her mysterious but powerful employers to a remote corner of France. Her mission, to infiltrate a commune of radical eco-activists influenced by the beliefs of an enigmatic elder, Bruno Lacombe, who has rejected civilization, lives in a Neanderthal cave, and believes the path to enlightenment is a return to primitivism. Sadie casts her cynical eye over this region of ancient farms and sleepy villages, and finds Bruno's idealism laughable, but just as she is certain she's the seductress and puppet master of those she surveils, Bruno Lacombe is seducing her with his ingenious counter-histories, his artful laments, his own tragic story. Beneath this taut, dazzling story about a woman caught in the crossfire between the past and the future lies a profound treatise on human history. Recreation Lake is Rachel Kushner's finest novel yet, a work of high art, high comedy, and irresistible pleasure. It sounds great to me. I know it's had mixed reviews. Not everybody loved this when it was doing the rounds in the prizes, but it just sounds up my alley, so I'm excited to have it now and be able to get to it at some point. The next one is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This is a romance, and I won't read the back to you because I've heard a lot about this one, and you probably have too if you've been around the book talk, booktube, etc. But essentially this is almost like a sliding doors situation, a train sort of thing. This girl meets a person on the train that she sort of love at first sight falls in love with, I think, in New York City. But then it turns out that she's like her subway crush in New York City. But then it turns out she's actually from the 1970s and she's displaced in time. And then they've got to work out how to fix that, and it sort of goes on from there. I don't read a whole lot of romance, but I occasionally get in the mood to read it. So I'm excited to have that one to be able to pick up at some point. I've got another, you know what, I'm going to pull it out. It's at the bottom of the pile, but it should be next. So let's do that. Speaking of romance, Happy Place by Emily Henry. Very excited to pick this one up as well. So this is, I have read Book Lovers by Emily Henry and gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. It was the best romance I've ever read. So I'm hopeful that her other romances will be just as good for me as that one was. So this one is about a couple who sort of deemed to be the perfect couple, but then they break up. But every year they go on a holiday with friends. So they've broken up, but they haven't told people that they've broken up. So they decide to go on to this holiday with the friends and sort of just pretend that they haven't broken up, because they've been broken up for 6 months. And they still haven't told anybody. And also because the place that they go in, this cottage, the cottage is for sale. So this is the last time that this holiday is going to be happening. And they can't bear to break their friend's heart, so they'll fake it for 1 more week. So I think it's a second chance romance, but yeah, excited to have that one in my collection, to be able to get to it, because as I said, I had such a good time with the last Emily Henry that I picked up. Okay, this one I'm a little bit more unsure about, because it's Blue Sisters by Coco Melors. I read her other book, Cleopatra and Frankenstein, and I didn't like it. I sort of started to like it, and then I eventually I found it kind of pretentious. So I'm a bit unsure about whether or not I'm going to like this one, because I didn't like the previous one. But I think this is the kind of author that I would give a second chance to see, because, you know, people evolve. Styles evolve. And I think it was the characters in that book that I was finding pretentious, more so than the writing style necessarily. So maybe this one's different with different characters. We'll see. The Blue Sisters have always been exceptional and exceptionally different. Avery, a straight-laced lawyer living in London, is the typical eldest daughter, though she's hiding a secret that could undo her perfect life forever. Bonnie was a boxer, but following a devastating defeat has been working as a bouncer in LA until a reckless act one night threatens to drive her out of the city. And Lucky, the rebellious youngest, is a model in Paris whose hard-partying ways are finally catching up with her. Then there was Nikki, the beloved fourth sister, whose unexpected death left Avery, Bonnie, and Lucky reeling. When, a year later, the 3 of them reunite in New York to stop the sale of their childhood home, they find that only by returning to each other can they navigate their grief, addiction, and heartbreak, and learn to fall in love with life again. So, I mean, it sounds good. So hopefully I will get along with that one better than I did with Cleopatra and Frankenstein. This book, The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Brammer, is not necessarily one that I would have picked up, but it came highly recommended by the bookseller at Anne's in Nora, the shop that I have mentioned multiple times in this video. He said, because the premise of this book sounds like it could very easily be quite contrived, but he says, having read it, that he didn't find it that way when he was reading it. So I picked it up for that reason, because he recommended it. So basically, this one is about a character called Clover Brooks, who is a death doula. And what that means is, it says here, she ushers people peacefully through their last days, collecting their final words into 3 notebooks: advice, confessions, and regrets. But Clover spends so much time with the dying that she's forgotten how to live. Can her client's hard-won wisdom and the inspiring love story of a spirited old woman named Claudia show Clover the way to a happy ending? After all, what's the point of giving someone a beautiful death if you can't give yourself a beautiful life? We'll see. We'll see if I like it as much as he did. Okay, 3 more to go. The next one is Crooked Seeds by Karen Jennings. This is also one that was listed for one of the prizes. Was it the Women's Prize, or was it... might have been the Booker Prize. It was definitely last year though. So yeah, it was exciting to find this one secondhand. But it says on the back, in her parched, crumbling corner of a Cape Town public housing complex, Deirdre Van Deventer? Doesn't matter. It's a character's name, it's not a real person's name. Receives a call from the police. The remains of several bodies have just been unearthed from her family's former home after decades underground. Detectives pepper her with questions about her brother and his dealings with a pro-apartheid group in the 1990s with terrorist leanings. Deirdre doesn't know the answers to most of these questions. All she knows is that she was denied repeatedly the life she felt she deserved. But as alarming evidence from the investigation continues to surface, and detectives pressure her to share what she knows of her family's disturbing past, Deirdre must finally confront her own shattered memories so that something better might emerge from what remains. Crooked Seeds is a singularly powerful novel in exquisitely spare prose about the ways we become trapped in prisons of our own making. Alright, this book I picked up because I have read the first one in the series. Is this the second one, or is this a third one? Let's see. Okay, this is not considered a sequel because she's listed the other one as a standalone novel, The Woman in the Library. So maybe it's just a... Anyway, this is The Mystery Writer by Sulari Gentile. I read The Woman in the Library and really enjoyed it. That one was a mystery. So on the back it says, every last thing had been considered, every outcome anticipated, every decision already made. There was nothing left to do but die. Theo has one dream, to become a best-selling author. Determined to make her mark in the literary world, she heads to the US on a whim to stay with her brother Gus and focus on her writing. But her plans take an unexpected turn when she befriends a famous author, Dan Murdoch, at a local bar, and then he turns up dead. Suddenly, Theo finds herself as the prime suspect. As Theo grapples with the shocking turn of events, she realizes that Dan may not have been the person he seemed to be, and there is something sinister going on in the world of publishing. Desperate to clear her name and uncover the truth, Theo sets out on a quest to find out who killed Dan and why. As she digs deeper, Theo uncovers a web of deceit, conspiracy, and hidden motives, with clues leading her to a shadowy organization with far-reaching power. With her own life in danger, Theo must unravel the mystery before she becomes the next victim. So, a mystery. I enjoyed the other one that I read by this author, so I've decided to... When I saw it, I was like, yes, please. Thank you very much. The very last book in this haul for today is Upon a Starlit Tide by Kell Woods. I was super excited to find this one because it came out this year, I'm pretty sure. And I had it on my wish list and then was very, very happily found this one secondhand. Yeah, so I have the other book of hers up on called After the Forest on my shelf. Haven't read it yet, but secondhand, got to pick it up. That's why I was holding off on buying it, because I haven't read the other book of hers yet. But I found it, so it's here. It's in my collection now. Let me tell you about it. The tales always say that sea maids are lovely, that their beauty and their voices lead men to their delight or their doom. Delight it is, he whispered, and perhaps my doom as well. 1758, Saint Malo, Brittany. To Lucinda Leon, the youngest daughter of a wealthy French shipowner, the high walls of Saint Malo are more hindrance than haven. While her sisters are busy trying to secure advantageous marriages, Lucinda? Yeah, Luce. Lucy? Anyway, spends her days secretly being taught to sail by Samuel, her best friend, and an English smuggler. Only he understands how the waves call to her. Then one stormy morning, Luce rescues a shipwrecked man from the sea. Immediately drawn in by the stranger's charm, Luce is plunged into a world of glittering balls and fairy magic, seduction and brutality. But it is not only her hopes that are at stake. The Fae are leaving Brittany and taking their magic with them, while the long-standing war with England means Saint Malo is under constant threat of attack. As Luce wrestles with warring desires and secrets that have long been lost to the depths of the ocean, she finds that her own power is growing brighter and brighter, shining like a sea glass slipper, or the scales of a sea maid's tail. So it sounds very interesting, and I'm excited to have it. Okay, that's it. That's the haul. I'm so glad to have finally filmed this video, because these books have been sitting in several gigantic stacks waiting for me to film them. So thank you very much for sticking with me throughout the video. It's been a long one, I know. So I appreciate you sticking it out to the end if you've made it this far. And I will hopefully be catching you on the next video very soon. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.